Konoha's life today is still unpretentious. Although the situation in the frontline war has become more and more tense, there has been a little more tension in the village. The deeds of Kakashi are heard from the front from time to time, and he is known as the super genius who can become the youngest shinobu in history at any time. In the Uchiha clan, an unknown old lady has to cross the road every day to accept the help of a certain runtu. In ninja school, theoretical courses are constantly being reduced, and practical courses are increasing substantially. Is as boring as ever. In the near future, the above practical courses will be the main focus. Outstanding people will get the opportunity to graduate early and become a glorious Konoha ninja. Teacher Masato Yoshino announced the news. The whole classroom is boiling, and the unidentified leak seedlings cheered and geared up. As if he had graduated, he would immediately become Kakashi's second place, giving the village a glow. Are all fresh leaks? Have you started to encourage graduation? It seems that Konoha's size is a little bit unable to hold it, and I feel more and more struggling with the frontline war, and I urgently need to replenish the source of troops. In the corner of the classroom, a guy covered in special bandages looked up lazily. In the Third Ninja World War, Konoha village had 1 out of 4. Its cruel degree far exceeded that of World War I and World War II, and it lasted extremely long, and the casualties were particularly tragic. Although there have been shadow-level powerhouses like Bo Feng Shuman, and even Heiji Kakashi, a super genius who has set Konoha's series of records, more tragedies have been staged during the 3 world wars. Xuanyi had been prepared for what happened before him, but when this moment came, it was inevitable that he would still scratch his head a little. But forget it, although the preparations are not fully in place yet, it's enough. My body finally barely adapted to the radioactive material emitted by Godzilla. Xuanyi couldn't help but shook his head. Hokage world is a pedigree open world. Whoever is closest to Lu Dao's father will have a noble pedigree, and whoever's pedigree will be stronger. Unfortunately, Xuanyi is also involved, but he has nothing to do with Lu Dao's father and Huiyi's ancestor. The moment he, a traverser, came to this world, he found that he had a colossal creature in his body. This was his unique power, and it was also the biggest secret he tried to hide. One head, falling into deep sleep, Godzilla. In other words, I do not know who Xuanyi, has become an existence similar to human Zulai, with a big guy in his stomach. After so many years of trying to adapt, I haven't let a large amount of nuclear radiation leak out. I am really a great man. The people in this classroom can live to this day. I really should thank me for not killing. Xuanyi lazily looked at the noisy classroom. As long as he is not paying attention, he loosens the bandage on his body that is used to block the radioactive material. The people in this house, even if they don't die, all have genetic mutations. The red-eye disease in the front row can be mutated to Sagujade without guarantee, and the guy with cataracts will become glaucoma if they are not sure. Nuclear radiation is a disastrous weapon. In the world of Naruto, there has never been such a thing as nuclear radiation, but there are various techniques comparable to nuclear explosions, such as the tail beast Jade. Who made Godzilla this kind of creature itself a terrible source of self-propelled nuclear radiation, not to mention the big move of releasing atomic breath. Even if it just walks around at will, it can pollute the environment and leave terrible nuclear radiation, directly cover a large area nearby. Although Xuanyi didn't know exactly what level of Godzilla in his body, the nuclear radiation bursting out of his body was real. In the past few years, as he grows, it seems to have unlocked Godzilla's to a certain extent, allowing the amount of nuclear radiation that erupted in his body to increase year by year. Fortunately, in the past 2 years, Xuanyi has continued to refine chakra and began to try to control the nuclear radiation in the body. The effect is remarkable. It has successfully controlled and suppressed the increasing amount of nuclear radiation every year. Give me another year, no, half a year, I am sure to perfectly control all nuclear radiation, and completely abandon these troublesome bandages. Hyunyi shrugged. Teacher Masato Yoshino looked at the noisy classroom and sighed silently in his heart. He knew that this was not a good thing. Graduates now have to participate in the war. He doesn't know how many people will be able to participate in the war after the war is over. Survive. Hey, Xianyi, you have to raise your energy anyway. Are you not interested in the honor of graduating early? But when he saw the state of Xianyi's salted fish in the corner, he couldn't help but yell, and a deep sense of powerlessness rose in his heart. I do not know Huo Xianyi, it is a legend in the school. Every year, I am a strong candidate with Uchiha to bring soil and compete for the bottom of the actual combat class. If it is said that Uchiha's belt soil is only unexpectedly too strong, resulting in inexplicable mistakes, but at least belt soil has been working hard. But I don't know Huo Xuanyi. That's really amazing. The absolute number one in theoretical courses, full score in subjects, is a super genius for the whole year and even since the establishment of the school, especially for the series of courses on the Will of Fire. The reading comprehension topics done by Xianyi are particularly wonderful, which is amazing. He wrote analysis of the Will of Fire and the inheritance of village leaders taking the 3 generations of Hokage as an example, on the villagers' common understanding of where the leaves fly, the flames grow continuously, and adhere to the 3 generations of Hokage as the center. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com My views of people in a village who loves each other and other content. It is said that Hokage said it was good after seeing it. As long as it involves theory courses, especially thinking courses, Xianyi can be called the god of Konoha. Once you get to the actual combat class, this one will stretch your hips indefinitely. I have never won a fight. Brought soil with Uchiha, courageously take the lead, and compete for the honor of the penultimate. This won't work, ninja, it's always going to be a battle. It's not going to rely solely on theory. Yoshino Masato criticized. I see, Mr. Yoshino, so can get out of class be dismissed. Xianyi lazily raised his hand. The whole classroom roared with laughter. There is only Xianyi, who naturally lacks the fear of Yoshino Masato, and can always say what everyone wants to say at a critical time. Although Xuanyi is very salty, his popularity has always been extremely high. I remember that the people who brought the soil this year, except for Kakashi graduated at the age of 5, and Mackay graduated at the age of 8, on average, they stepped onto the battlefield around the age of 11. I was frightened and cried, thanks to Bo Feng Shuman saving the field. I don't know Huo Xuanyi was sitting in the classroom, looking at these classmates who didn't know how many survived after 2 years, but the brain was running fast. The teaching system of ninja school is a 6-year system. But it will soon be changed to a 4-year system. The Third Ninja War has been fought for more than 2 years, and the front line has suffered heavy casualties. It was when the group of people such as Tato, Kai, Aoba, and Ebisu set foot on the battlefield. Therefore, if I don't know Huo Xuanyi, it is inevitable to walk around on the battlefield. In the afternoon, Yoshino Masato organized an internal practical class for Class C. Every student took the stage one after another, shouting loudly to show off their talents. A young girl kicked Marino Ibiki into the air with a decisive action. Well done, the thing that reassures me the most in our class is Uchiha Kazue. You have seen her performance. In the past year, she has made rapid progress, and the results of each subject have improved by leaps and bounds from the middle reaches. If you all work hard like Kazue, I will feel more at ease. Yoshino Masato proclaimed his praise and looked admiring. Uchiha Kazue, his performance in the past few years was mediocre. In the past year, he didn't know what happened. His strength has improved by leaps and bounds. He has not graduated yet, and almost possesses the strength of Zongnan. Xianyi naturally also came on stage. The opponent was the sick Moonlight Storm. The two screamed and pecked at each other. Xianyi's performance was even more mediocre. In this competition, Uchiha Kazue won the first place. This has gradually become the norm in the past year. Everyone was surprised by her sudden explosion of talent. After class, when most of the people were almost gone, Xianyi got up and left and returned to his residence. As a war orphan, the village will not treat Xianyi badly, and with the inheritance of a certain inheritance, the total wealth is not bad. The most money-burning consumption on weekdays is to make silver fiber bandages, which cost him a large part of his wealth, but this kind of expenditure is necessary. At most half a year, I will definitely be able to perfectly control the nuclear radiation in my body. This can be regarded as a balance between me and Godzilla. Hyunyi was cooking and thinking. Godzilla is a kind of creature, it's powerful and stalwart, needless to say, it can be called a son of the earth general existence. In various versions, Godzilla often exists as an important maintainer and supplement to the Earth's ecological environment, and it is also rare. There is no absolute malicious titan behemoth to humans. But the problem is that a terrible monster of this size, even if it is just a few trivial actions, can cause extremely terrible consequences. For example, the nuclear radiation that has plagued Xianyi for many years. Nuclear radiation is also the root cause of Xianyi's salty fish. The less you move, the lower the total amount of nuclear leakage. Moreover, Xianyi has absolute reason to believe that his physique is also being subtly transformed by Godzilla. Perhaps he will have to add the influence of chakra's power, otherwise he would have long been unable to bear the increasing amount of nuclear radiation. Similarly, his own process of refining chakra, together with his own will, also affected the sleeping Godzilla to some extent. This is a two-way process, and it is also a process of adapting to each other's existence. Because of various reasons, I don't dare to unscrupulously refine chakras, but based on the information collected in the past, it can be calculated, the total number of cells in my body is definitely far more than ordinary people. This is Xuanyi's conclusion based on learning the three shinjutsu in school and combining his own and other people's different times of performing ninjutsu. At that time, when many people of the same age had performed the three-body technique several times, when they were panting, Xuanyi felt that she hadn't warmed up yet, and she didn't feel anything. This is the result of his deliberately not refining chakra. The total number of cells in a normal human body is about 130 trillion. To refine chakras, these 130 trillion cells must be combined with spiritual energy for refinement. Because he is a traverser, Xianyi is confident that his spiritual energy is higher than that of ordinary people, but pure spiritual energy cannot make him possess such a terrifying talent for chakra. Can only be the cause of physique. There is absolutely a terrifying total amount of cells in his body. I have powerful self-healing ability and amazing energy. It stands to reason that this is a physique that can only be possessed by the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan. It seems that I have to find a way to get some precision equipment and study my body. Xianyi took a deep breath. It won't be long before he will be on the battlefield. Even if he is only doing logistical work, he will be involved in the war sooner or later. There are some things that must be done. It's time to meet up officially, big guy. Xianyi whispered. After dinner, Xianyi went directly to bed and sat cross-legged, as if he was refining the chakra. No matter who watched it, he wouldn't think anything was wrong. After the outbreak of the three world wars, people from the secret department, garrison, and enchantment department often acted in the village, closely monitoring everything, and beware of the infiltration of enemy spies. In this period, absolutely cannot show any form of peculiarity. This time, he wants to see with his own eyes the behemoth in his body. And I have to confirm first, which Godzilla is this big guy in my body. Very quickly, my consciousness sinks. Xianyi directly came to an extremely dim space. This is the small space-time in his body. Is the residence of Godzilla. I tried so many times before without success. This time I finally did it. Sure enough, I am constantly approaching this Godzilla in all directions. Xianyi looked around. Looking around, there was only endless dimness, and the only luminous body was himself, with a faint light on his skin, barely illuminating the surroundings. He lifted his foot forward and walked slowly to the front of a behemoth. Looked up, Rao Xianyi had been mentally prepared for a long time, and was shocked by the big guy in front of him. Although it is extremely dim, only a rough and fuzzy outline can barely be seen. However, you can still clearly feel the power of this terrifying guy in front of you. Heavy breathing sounds in a specific rhythm, and every breath is like the rhythm of the whole world itself. Can't accurately describe the huge existence in front of me in words. Standing in front of this guy, it seems to be facing the gathering of countless lives. This exaggerated body shape, not an ordinary Godzilla. Xianyi shook her face. Normal forms of Godzilla, such as the first and second generation Godzilla, are about 50 meters tall. The strength of this type of Godzilla is actually not strong. The humans on Earth use technological means, as long as they don't use a nuclear bomb to explode stupidly, but arrange a refrigerant or the like, they can basically win. The height of the nine-tailed beasts ranges from 50 meters to 70 meters. It can be said that an ordinary adult Godzilla is not defeated by the tail beast in size. Of course, if it really wants to fight, the ordinary Godzilla will be torn to pieces by the tail beast every minute. But the one in front of him, even if it fell into a deep sleep, it still exudes a sense of terrifying oppression that shocks the soul. In this endless dimness, there is brewing depth and depression that cannot be sensed, as if facing a whole world. The size of this Godzilla in my body is definitely far more than 50 meters. Although the higher position is dim, I can't see it at all, but... Xianyi clenched his fists fiercely with a look of excitement. He originally estimated that he only hoped that the big guy in his body would have to be a second-generation eye with a certain level of combat power at least. It could be used as a super psychic beast, just like Hanzo and his Sancho fish, it is in human form. Self-propelled gas storage, wherever you go, wherever you die. The scenes that could be seen in reality gave Xianyi a huge surprise or fright. Such a huge body! I'm afraid it's those giants with names and surnames. Xianyi's eyes are deep. He has locked the subject of guessing to the top few Godzillas. Space Godzilla, Hell Godzilla, Snow Godzilla, and Old Sioux Godzilla, these four-headed Godzilla. Space Godzilla is an existence called the Destroyer, whose range of action has already been separated from the Earth, and tearing a normal Godzilla by hand is just like playing. Hell Godzilla is from an officially recognized fan manga, which directly smashed through heaven and hell, making it a mess. Ice and Snow Godzilla, covered in snow and ice, has the ability to penetrate space. And the Old Sioux Godzilla is more powerful, and it can also be called the highest forced rank among all Godzillas. In this version, the meaning of the birth and development of human beings is to give birth to the old Godzilla, and all mankind is just a transition and catalyst for the birth of the old Godzilla. After expelling the terrestrial people and two other cosmic civilizations together, the old Godzilla dominated the Earth for 20,000 years, and he could also distinguish a 50-meter tall sub-Godzilla from his body. The strongest atomic breath that this guy expelled can crush a moon-sized star. If it's really one of these four-headed Godzilla, then there is something amazing in my body. I'm a real human column power level, but how to tap this power? A big problem, if you are not careful, you will kill yourself. Xianyi took a deep breath. Stepped in again, watching the guy in front of him more closely. But when approaching the 100-meter range, the huge resistance oncoming made Xianyi dispel the idea of touching this big guy. Now he has only initially constructed a balance mechanism with this Godzilla, far from reaching the level of smooth communication. Even he can't be sure now, what kind of attitude the big guy in front of him has is a huge hidden danger. I must find a way to establish a more suitable relationship before this guy officially wakes up, whether it's various forms of relationship, symbiosis, sealing technique, or other means. Xianyi pondered silently. The next moment, he sat down directly cross-legged within the distance of 100 meters, constantly feeling this amazing resistance. At the same time, I did my best and started trying to adapt to everything Godzilla brought. UU reading www.uuganshu.com. Not only this resistance, but also the bursting radiation force, subtly transforming and sublimating his body. Xuanyi is carefully comprehending all of this. His thinking and consciousness are under too much pressure, and he observes the huge Godzilla in front of him, while trying to monitor every change in himself. Soon, Xuanyi's consciousness fell into immense exhaustion. Who? In reality, Xuanyi slowly opened his eyes, as if he had been in a lifetime, and was already sweating profusely. Even the sheets are soaked. His face was exhausted, but he couldn't hide the gleam of light under his eyes. The spirit is exhausted due to stress and intense thinking, but the body becomes more active, as if it has inexhaustible strength. I also felt a little different change. The nuclear radiation in my body can almost be perfectly controlled by me, saving half a year of time. More importantly, the blood succession boundary that I envisioned, which I tried once but almost killed myself, seems to be usable with my current mental and physical conditions. Xuanyi slapped both hands suddenly. Began to mobilize the chakra inside. In an instant, a large number of chakras gathered together, and then, in a crash, involving terrorist nuclear reactions at the atomic and molecular levels, during the collisions, using the magical power of chakras as the medium, shocking fluctuations erupted. As long as Xuanyi wanted to, he could play the technique he envisioned at a lower cost at any time, instead of nearly killing himself like before. This unprecedented new blood following the limit, Xuanyi called it nuclear escape. Nuclear escape. This is the name Xuanyi gave to the unique power he has mastered. Controlling the power of the nucleus with flesh and blood is simply unprecedented and crazy. Using chakra as the medium and driving force, it uses a strong spirit and a strong body to control the atomic level collisions and the horrible power that erupts. This is nuclear escape. Is powerful, weird, and has never appeared in the world of Naruto. This is the most special blood succession boundary, and it is also a special bloodline that belongs exclusively to Xuanyi. However, the nuclear escape and the blood following the limit are not perfect, and the problems Xuanyi faces are equally severe. Nuclear escape, even if it's just the most basic use of nuclear escape, it takes amazing energy and physical strength. Xuanyi sat on the bed, feeling the slightly concentrated nuclear power in his body, and was silent. Nuclear, the most basic element, is to involve atomic level changes. The difficulty and pressure of manpower to promote this step can be imagined. Had it not been for the presence of Godzilla, he had directly undergone a subtly symbiotic transformation of his body. Xuanyi would have died long ago, let alone trying to practice nuclear escape. Godzilla is born to control nuclear fusion, and there is even a special organ in his body that performs nuclear fusion at all times. By swallowing air and water as energy sources, it can be infinite nuclear fusion. Xuanyi couldn't help but rubbed his eyebrows. That organ is called atomic furnace. Really, drinking northwest wind can make it stronger. Xuanyi does not have such an organ in his body, but to Godzilla's blessing, Xuanyi has survived the most difficult adaptation stage, and has already reached the threshold of controllable nucleus by running. I basically understand that in the original book, Day and that guy were embarrassed when they used the wood escape for the first time. They tried their best to create a dry wooden pile, leaving Danzo speechless. Xuanyi sighed and looked up at the black hole outside the window. Difficulty is only one aspect. And dangerous is another aspect. 1 year ago, after the ability to control the core radiation of the body gradually stabilized, Xuanyi also tried to further develop the power of nuclear escape, but he almost killed himself. That time, it was only a preliminary attempt, and the terrifying burns instantly spread on his arms, and the unprecedented amount of nuclear radiation eroded his body crazily. Fortunately, relying on the amazing self-healing ability and the perennial wrapping of the bandage, it did not attract the attention of others and avoided more troublesome consequences. The technique he had conceived at the time didn't even have the possibility to use it. If he continued forcibly, it would only end when he was blown into slag. And that technique is also one of Godzilla's signature abilities, and it is still Xian Yi's conception, his own assassin in the early stage. I couldn't even use that technique before, let alone other ones. Almost every technique played by nuclear escape can be said to be a forbidden technique. Xian Yi thoughtfully. Forbidden technique is not so much difficult to practice, it is more dangerous than it is too dangerous, and it is easy to cause the effect of killing oneself. Multi-shadow clone and wind escape spiral shuriken are all listed as forbidden. And Xuan Yi's technique, as long as it is played, not to mention its destructiveness, the spread of nuclear radiation alone is enough for the enemy to drink a pot. Fortunately, he now has the ability to control nuclear radiation. It should be okay now, although there is a price to pay, but there must be no problem with the successful use of nuclear escape, probably. Xian Yi continued to refine chakra like this, and then continued to adapt to the nuclear escape blood succession boundary. It's daybreak. There are some hidden dangers, and now they can be cleaned up. Xian Yi didn't sleep all night, but his mental state had recovered, and his physical state was surprisingly good. He got up an hour earlier than before and entered the woods next to the village. Taking advantage of this time before going to school, Xuan Yi has always had the habit of studying and studying hard, especially like sneaking into the small woods. Holds several books written by 3 generations of Naruto masters, such as The Theory of the Will of Fire and The Will of the First Generation of Naruto. Xuan Yi's favorite is to read this kind of book. Scroll through it dozens of times, and write a bunch of comments seriously. Especially for the book 3 Generations of Huoying quotations, Xian Yi attaches great importance to it, and writes so densely on it that even Xian Yi himself does not know what he is writing at the end of the annotation. Anyway, it's right to write J8 blindly, and he didn't write it for himself. Every time I look at it, I feel that this village building theory is a pile of good-looking but useless rhetoric. There are only a lot of empty theories and crude and straightforward examples to support it. Xian Yi scratched his head. For example, in the chapter Dear Each Other and Love a Villager, a member of the Thousand Hands clan took the initiative to abandon his name and entered the ninja school to shine and help others. He often went to the next door to help the widow who lost her husband in the war. In the end, the two lived happily together without shame. Xian Yi later deliberately verified that this thousand-handed tribe, shortly after Xi became a father, died on the battlefield of World War II. Of course, the latter paragraph was not recorded on it. There is no solid pyramid framework, no specific guidelines, and all rely on the leaf theory of the 3 generations of Hokage as the general outline. Xian Yi looked disgusted, he really resisted the crookedness and looked at this naive thing. At this moment, an Anbi in the village is on a secret patrol and appears here. He glanced at Xian Yi, who was studying hard with a frown, and couldn't help nodding secretly. Search for torn milk, this kid again. The expression under this man's fox face mask is full of weirdness. Is this the kid who broke the village record in the theory class in the legend? After seeing it, Hokage said it was good, as diligent as ever. It's a pity that the direction of the effort is wrong. It's better to practice ninjutsu when you have this time. Soon, this Anbu disappeared immediately, and the whole process was silent. 2 consecutive hours passed. Xian Yi closed the book with a snap. Then, he stood up from the rock and stretched his waist to face the rising sun. It's another beautiful day, but why didn't I see Mr. Dai this morning? I wouldn't choose this place if it weren't for him to exercise regularly here. For a few hours, I couldn't see the Wanyan Ninmat wearing it, and Xian Yi felt particularly insecure. Like an enemy spy, he will appear beside him at any time, and then wipe his neck at his innocent child. Mate Day is a recognized endurance for 10,000 years. He takes his son Metkai every day for self-masochistic exercises and suffers from discrimination and ridicule. However, Xian Yi would not taunt them. He also wished everyone would humiliate Daihakai, so as to give him a chance to get in. At this time, Dai, because he only knows physical skills and does not have any ninjutsu and illusion skills, cannot be reused, even as cannon fodder, which makes people feel superfluous. Therefore, occasionally, he will go to the battlefield as a logistician. Most of the time haunted the village. Because of the increasingly severe war situation, the number of tasks has dropped sharply, and the number of single-player tasks that Dai Neng has received has also dropped sharply. He can't even receive garbage tasks such as weeding and finding cats. Moreover, no one wants to team up with Dai this ways to take on higher-level tasks. In the original work, when the trio of Kai, Genma, and Ebisu were in the territory of the Fire Country, when they encountered the infiltrated Misty Seven people, they all went to the rescue by Mat alone. It is conceivable that the father and son Dai and Kai are in a difficult situation in Konoha at this time. Coupled with the amount of exercise of their father and son, the requirements for the quality and quantity of food are very high. When their lives fell into a huge difficulty, Xian Yi made a decisive move. At this time, Xian Yi did not hesitate to take out the few savings in the family, and specially released tasks such as chopping wood, doing housework, and cleaning the roof for Dai Hikai to do, which made Xian Yi's not wealthy family even worse. In the past 2 years, Xian Yi has almost grown from a rich family to a pauper, ruining her family and raising Dai Hikai. That's it, he was once praised by the villagers. Everyone felt that Xian Yi's consciousness was too high. He spared no effort to relieve his companions, and he deserves to be a perfect seed to inherit the will of fire. Even if I do it again, Xuan Yi will still do it. What kind of is money? Is it a loss to be able to gain a shadow level and a super shadow level? I will feel safe with Mr. Dai, a dead man, but where is he at this time? Xian Yi yawned. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com is almost time, it's time to go to school. He walked directly out of the training woods and walked around the forest outside Konoha village by the way. He had always been like this in the past. But today, it's a little different. Hey? Someone is there in that place. Xian Yi's face moved slightly, and she looked at some inconspicuous grove with the light. There is the place where Xuan Yi conducted secret training when he developed that extremely dangerous technique. The development failure a year ago caused this place to be filled with a certain degree of radiation cloud, which has always been regarded as a forbidden place by Xian Yi. People other than him will be affected by nuclear radiation if they enter. Today, Xian Yi intends to recover nuclear radiation. So early, why would anyone appear in such a place by coincidence? Xian Yi was silent for a while, feeling a bit tricky, and pondered for a while. But in the end, I tentatively approached, glimpsed in the gap between the trees, and saw Kazue Uchiha, the sister of Izumi Uchiha, the lover of Itaki in the future. This woman, sweating profusely, is training, breathing heavily, and apparently has been cultivating hard for a while. Moreover, after completing the practice, he took out the box lunch and consumed it on the spot. At first glance, there seems to be no problem. However, when Xian Yi saw that this woman used her dusty hands, seemingly inadvertently, but deliberately, he sprinkled the dust into the lunch box and gulped it, he realized it. This is a ruthless person. The nuclear radiation scattered in the air, after more than a year of fermentation, there is not much left. The real big heads are all buried deep in the soil. Who? Kazue turned around suddenly, took out kunao, and threw it out fiercely. There was killing intent in Kazue's eyes. This time she shot it with even more ruthlessness. At the moment of throwing kunao, she moved quickly and rushed out. After seeing Xian Yi, his expression was slightly startled. Do you treat your classmates with such a cruel hand? Icky, this is not like you usually. Xuan Yi used a finger to easily flick kunao, and suddenly fell down, supporting the ground with one hand, and then kicked it sideways. The powerful force made Yu Hui snorted on the spot. After a backflip, Kazuke pulled away, looking at him with jealousy and surprise. Why are you here, and your strength? Icky's face changed slightly, and he pulled out a new kunao, slightly clenched. This place is the reason why she has become stronger this year. It is the root of her breaking the fate of mediocrity and getting the attention of the clan. It is absolutely not allowed to be discovered by outsiders. It's really hard work. You can make rapid progress in this year. It is actually by this method. This year, you have eaten a layer of land. If it weren't for today, I had advanced by an hour. I can't find you. Xuanyi looked at Icky. This is also him, and this is the first time that Uchiha has been solemnly observed. Well, there are no genetic mutations found for the time being, such as some extra organs popping up. Can guide this dangerous force on a large scale. Icky, they have misunderstood you. You are a genius, a true genius. Xuanyi said solemnly. Icky's murderous face was suddenly startled, showing a look of confusion and horror. How would you know? The reason is simple. Xuanyi nodded his hands, and then, in front of Icky's vigilant and furious gaze, he squatted slightly and slapped the ground fiercely. Snapped. The radiation buried deep in the ground was completely absorbed by Xuanyi in an instant. Even if someone discovers something wrong in the future, no clue can be found. I admire your courage and awareness to become stronger. If you want to continue to become stronger, then come to me. At least, I won't let you eat the dirt anymore. Xuanyi smiled, just turned around, exposing his back to the shocked Icky, and left without any haste. Icky's heart set off a stormy sea, and repeated confirmation that the strange power that could stimulate her body and make her stronger disappeared. Who are you on Earth? Ninja School. Anyone who just walked into the gate could see Metkai running laps on the playground like a fool, and his father Motte was standing outside the fence and shouting encouragement. When Xuanyi came to school. "K, you bastard!" Dai made a fierce fist, crossed the fence, and knocked his son Kai into the air. "Oh, sorry father, I let you down again. I'm almost 11 years old, and I still can't run 1,000 laps around the playground. I'm such a waste." Metkai knelt on the ground, crying bitterly. "K, my son. You shouldn't give up lightly. Your physical skills are the metal to witness your youth. Youth will not deceive." "Woo, I understand my father, I will do 800 push-ups right now, and if I can't do 800 push-ups, I will skip 1,500 times." "K. Father." The father and son cried in each other's arms. Xuanyi felt that her eyes were almost blind. He finally knows why it is rare to see Daihakai this morning. "Oh! Xuanyi sang, you rarely came so early today." Dai waved his hand to Xuanyi, showing respect on his face. "Stay as hard as ever, Mr. Dai, but didn't K graduated early? Why did you come back?" Xuanyi walked over, ignored the pointing and contemptuous gazes around him, and smiled. Among the people in this class, Kakashi graduated at the age of 5, and Cranetail Metkai graduated at the age of 8. They are the only ones in existence. Dai rectified the forehead protection on his forehead. "Yes, Kai and I received a mission from the village to return to the ninja school to maintain order. There is still some time before the start of the game. It must not be wasted. Struggle is youth." "What?" Xuanyi sang, "Thank you very much. After the war is over, I will definitely make money and make up for your losses." Daihakai, at the same time a 90-degree bow came, and he was grateful. "The will to fire in you is so strong, I clearly feel it. However, if you say this again, I will be angry. They are all Konoha ninjas. It is right to contribute to the village, and I strongly agree with it. Your point of view?" Xuanyi nodded and praised. Kai clenched his fists and encouraged. Xuanyi sang, "With your strength, if you work hard, you might be able to graduate early." At this time, the people around, who came and went, suddenly burst into laughter. "Just like Xuanyi, you still want to graduate early. No matter how strong a theory class is, it is useless. Damn it, I don't know what the village thinks, I actually let K, the crane tail, graduate early. Students of all grades passed by one after another, and some guys were extremely jealous. Kakashi is very good, even if he can graduate early, but what is the reason for the tale of Matty? The theory class is poor, and the ninjutsu illusion is not good, relying on powerful physical skills to sweep the same class. Turned out to be the second to graduate early. You only know physical skills, what a ninja, you father and son are all jokes of the village. Oh, thank you for your support. Dai gave a thumbs up to everyone who laughed at them. Xian Yi shook his head, encouraged a few more words, and then walked directly to the classroom. Mate Kai looked at Xian Yi's back. Xian Yisang is really a great man. He has supported my father and me. He has never discriminated against us. He has always encouraged us. He is not good at fighting, so I must try my best to protect him. In the dark, Kay clenched his fists, and two of flames burned in his eyes. Xian Yi walking in front noticed something and nodded secretly. What a nice look, he is deeply looking forward to the moment when Kay burns all his youth for him one day in the future. Soon, Xian Yi returned to his class. Many people were talking in low voices about the content of today's actual combat class, with anxiety and expectation on their faces. Graduate early. This is an honor that only geniuses are eligible for. Except for a very small number of people, they received some vague news from their parents, and they were slightly worried. Most of them were ignorant, looking forward to becoming the second Kakashi instead of the second Metkai. The village has achieved Kakashi's goal of setting Kakashi as a benchmark for the new generation. Xian Yi sat back in his seat, waiting for the upcoming new round of practical lessons. For this practical lesson, Xuan Yi is completely indifferent, and now only claims that he will select outstanding people to graduate early, but in fact, soon, all of Xuan Yi's people in this period will be forced to graduate and sent to the battlefield. Shine for the village. Moreover, Xian Yi now has a preliminary grasp of the power of nuclear escape, which can be regarded as the power of self-protection. As long as you don't get crazy enough to find Shinobu, you can rely on one-handed nuclear escape and Xian Yi's own physique to protect yourself enough. Are you really laid back? Don't you worry about your future at all? A pale-skinned guy asked casually next to him. Moonlight Blast. Didn't know what Moonlight Hay was all about, and fell ill when he was in school. There is no way to worry, I just need to go all out. Xian Yi smiled. Moonlight Storm shook his head, some of them couldn't understand Xian Yi's salted fish mentality. The Moonlight family and Shiranui family are both Konoha's small families, and even the Moonlight family still has a sword technique as a family inheritance, but the Shiranui family is even more miserable, and there is no Mao. If you insist on saying yes. Maybe it's Senbon throwing technique? The future of Shiranui family directly fell on Shiranui Genma in the next class. As for Xian Yi, the master of theory and the king of mouthpieces, it is impossible for Xian Jian to be an assistant in the future. At this time, Uchiha Kazue walked into the classroom without squinting, let alone looking at Xian Yi, as if nothing happened. Soon, Mr. Masato Yoshino walked into the classroom and directly led everyone to the playground. The people in the other classes were also in place one after another, and for a time, it was extremely noisy. It's actually a cross-duel between classes. Xian Yi touched his chin. This is probably observing the strength of their students in this class, evaluating the possibility of graduating all the students in this class ahead of time and sending them to the battlefield. The 6-year system is about to be changed to the 4-year system. When the 3 wars were the worst, it was about to come. A ninja appeared with the instantaneous technique and officially announced the start of the actual combat class. In the first game, Uchiha Kazue vs. Hyuga Loiha. The crowd was commotion. Hey! Is the first match between Uchiha and Hyuga. These two people are very good in the same period. Although they are not as good as Kakashi, they are also among the best. Kazue raised his head indifferently, stepped into the arena, and made a confrontation with Hyaga Lu. Hyaga Lu from the next class. Xian Yi thought about it. Yu read www.yuyuganshu.com and looked at it with interest. Hyaga Lu, in the original work, it was not until the Fourth Ninja War that formally appeared. Now, it's the same period of Kakashi and his Swanyi. Click it. I have heard of you, the most outstanding genius of the Naka Uchiha clan in the last few sessions. I will not lose to you. Luyubo Hyaga looked confident and directly rolled his eyes. Grow your eyes? They are a good pair of eyes, but in front of my eyes, your pride is worthless. Kazue shook his head, slowly closed his eyes, under the unbelievable gaze of everyone. When opened again, Akuya writing wheel eye has been opened. This is a pair of beautiful eyes with a sense of oppression. If you observe carefully, you will find that Guyu's eyes are much more blurred than the normal writing wheel eyes, but the blood red of the large swaths is more intense. This? Ikki actually awakened to Shaolunyan. When did it happen? Yoshino Masato was dumbfounded. He taught Ikki for 4 years, but he didn't even know about it. At this age, I started writing round eyes. Is this a genius? Uchiha vs Hyaga. Is the highlight when it comes up. It seems that the village wants to use these two best guys besides Kakashi and Kei to show others a good example. In the distance, some people sent by the high-level villagers are observing a showdown between the two big pupil families. Uchiha and the Hyaga family both claim to be the #1 giants in Konoha. This battle is interesting. Most of the tribesmen of these two big families are now fighting against Wuyin village, which has dragged Wu into the village. I just hope that their offspring will be equally good. These people are watching this battle silently. They all shoulder an important task, which is to assess the overall level of this session and whether they can be sent to the battlefield. The war on the front line is getting tighter, and Konoha's huge size is a little overwhelmed. Hey? Right round eyes. Soon, they were surprised. A 9-year-old girl has awakened the blood of the Uchiha family? This kind of talent? Well, it's really amazing. I thought that the Uchiha people in this session would not have any real genius. I didn't expect to have surprises. The one headed by nodded slightly, feeling satisfied. Master's Highway, do you need to report to Master Naruto? Such a child is definitely worth paying attention to. An Anbu wearing a mask whispered. No, wait a minute. At least until all the people in this year's competition are over, I will submit a detailed report to Lord Naruto. Yuan Zaiwei's face was shrouded in a huge hood, and she said solemnly. Uchiha Kazue's writing round eyes caused a great shock. At the age of 10, he opened his eyes, enough to be called a genius. You must know that many Uchiha people cannot open their eyes for a lifetime. Originally, because of the strange flower, the Uchiha family once lost all people, but now Ikki's eyes are opened, and all the rumors are directly shattered. Uchiha, still that Uchiha, geniuses come forth in large numbers. It's actually writing round eyes, but I won't lose, and my white eyes are just as powerful. Hinata Luyubo was also taken aback, suppressed his inner anxiety, and said solemnly. Everyone knows that the Uchiha tribe with and without writing round eyes are like two people. Ikki just smiled and shook his head, stopped speaking, and backed away abruptly, and immediately sealed his hands. Art Fire Escape Fireball. One shot is Uchiha's signature ninjutsu. This is even more surprising. A fireball comparable to the size of a person, it rushed towards Luyubo in a whistling, that crazy burning flame, illuminating everything. Among the electric flint, Ichigumi glanced at someone watching the battle in a flash, and then moved his gaze away again without a trace. Swanyi's face showed surprise and admiration. It's crazy. In the past year, how much did this woman pay to become strong? How much nuclear radiation did she eat to stimulate her body? Even this pair of riding wheels looks slightly different. It seems that they were forced to give birth when they were not up to the standard in all aspects. He remembers clearly that the people in this year of the original book, the entire Uchiha family, are really awesome only with the blackened soil, who opened a kaleidoscope to write a wheel at the age of 12. But now there is a 9-year-old Ikki with open eyes. In the future, Itaka's sister-in-law, who is not in line with the original, the plot has been changed. Using nuclear radiation to induce bleeding and limit the world? Although Yui must be an accident in all cases, it is good if there is no violent death, but this subject is not lacking in research value. The ghost knows that chakra is a kind of spiritual and material penetration. What role does omnipotent energy play in the middle, the line of the sacred tree and the line of the big tube tree? Xuan Yi pondered silently. At this moment, in the arena, the confrontation between the two also caused bursts of exclamations, which opened the eyes of many people. The comparison between the insightful writing wheel eyes and the perspective white eyes is a bit ahead of the current level of students in this class. In the end, Ikki used the shuriken throwing technique of the Uchiha clan to force Lu Yupo back again and again, and finally was kicked by Ikki, who seized the opportunity and was defeated on the spot. Damn it, if I can hit you in the body. Lu Yupo looked unwilling, his soft fist had no room to play, even if it was a close fight, he was given dodge one by Yike. The wailing of the weak. The two made a mark of reconciliation. Ikki glanced at Lu Yubo, said softly, and walked off the arena. She walked to Xuan Yi's side, moved for a while, hesitated a little, and then stood behind Xuan Yi very consciously. The game continues. There was a duel between Ikki and Lu Yubo, and the subsequent game actually faded a lot. Round after round, all kinds of chickens pecking at each other, people can't bear to look straight. It looks like this is the case for this year's people. Most of those who are outstanding are from the great ninja clan. Send these people to the battlefield. Once they are attacked by the enemy squad, apart from Ikki and Lu Yubo, I'm afraid they will all be killed and injured. But other villages have successively sent new people to participate in the war. We were able to delay doing this until now. We have already achieved the ultimate. The many people who watched the battle talked in a low voice. Many people are ready to leave. Wait a minute, there is another guy that makes people care. Oily Nymph said lightly. The next match, Matere Red Bean vs. Ignoring Huo Xuan Yi. Soon, the two walked onto the arena. It turns out it's you, a weak chicken in actual combat. It's really unlucky for you to be an opponent with me. Hengdu put his hands on his shoulders, looking at Xuan Yi's expression, a little strange. What are you saying? Well, you don't know it at all, but it's no wonder that this is an undisclosed piece of news. I was just accepted as a disciple by Osamarasama not long ago. A weird smile appeared on Hengdu's face, with the words "please praise me" all over his face. The people around them all showed shocking colors at this time, looking at Red Bean in astonishment. Ashimaru-sama. Atsuki Bean has actually become a disciple of Sunan, it, Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com I think too. Why is she? I am not worse than her. In the eyes of many people, there is a look of envy, jealousy, and hatred, and their eyes are red. That is Ashimaru, one of the three ninjas, a strong shadow class. Even the teachers in the class have changed faces, and there is a little respect in the eyes of Hengdu. Can become a disciple of Sunan, Red Bean will definitely become an excellent ninja who shelters the village in the future. At this time, Atsuki Bean sticks out her tongue and licks her lips. This is the action she learned from Dashimaru. Atsuki Bean felt that it was necessary for him to move closer to Lord Ashimaru in all directions, even in words and deeds. Really? So amazing! Xuan Yi looked in surprise. Hengdu sneered. For some reason, he felt a little uncomfortable. He suddenly took out Kyo and rushed over, slashing Xuan Yi's face severely. Stab! The bandage was cut, a trace of blood appeared on his face, a large amount of blood overflowed, and it was contaminated with kusu. Didn't you run away? What a poor guy, I can't even catch my speed. Besides, let me tell you one more thing. Hengdu Zimei smiled, and under Xuanyi's sudden change of face, she stuck out her tongue, pretending to be greedy and intoxicated, licking the blood of Kusu. Xuanyi stretched out his hand weakly, but it was too late to stop the operation. I like drinking fresh blood the most, hey? Hey! The red bean swallowed Xuanyi's blood in one bite, and before he had time to taste it carefully, he was stunned. The next moment, under everyone's eyes, she spit out. She had a face full of disbelief, and she stretched out her fingers trembling. Despicable, you actually poisoned your blood. Hokage building. The great man standing on the peak of Konoha village, 3 generations of Naruto adults, has just processed the latest documents urgently, and looks tired. Brother Shiram almost assaulted his companion in extreme anger because he was not full enough. These 2 guys are really restless. Although they are powerful, if they are sent out to perform the task. 3 generations of Hokage took a puff of smoke and fell into deep thought. Highway, are there any results? After a while, the 3rd generation of Hokage called Anbu to ask. The game is coming to an end. Master's Highway intends to observe the performance of Mitara Atsuki up close, so that he can make the most appropriate report. Anbu knelt on one knee, lowered his head and said. Is that so? As expected of Yuzushi Wei, she is such an excellent ninja that makes people feel at ease. 3 generations of Hokage showed a slight smile on his face. Unv Wei is the same period of Bo Feng Shuman. Although it has not been able to stand at the shadow level in terms of hard power, it is the most perfect elite Shang-Ren. His abilities are too comprehensive. There is no shortcoming in ninjutsu illusion jujutsu, commanding ability, tackling toughness, and perception ability. So that, on the battlefield of the 3 wars, Unv has become a rare and powerful ninja who can act alone. Mitara Atsuki beans can be seen by the fussy guy Ashimaru. It seems that she has a characteristic that attracts Ashimaru deeply. 3 generations of Hokage smiled and nodded. The last disciple of Ashimaru was still the rope tree. Since the death of the rope tree, Dashimaru's whole person has become a lot colder and gloomy, and there have been some changes that even his teacher can't understand. This time, the 3 generations of Hokage are very worried. S ability to recruit new disciples has shown that Dashimaru has stepped out of the shadows to some extent. Then let me observe it myself. 3 generations of Hokage took out the crystal ball. The art of telescope. On the crystal ball, the game scene of the ninja school emerged. Mitara Atsuki beans, duel. Is this person familiar? It seems that the guy who is very good at flattering, oh no, is a guy who is good at writing theory. Full score in politics class, which widened the road at a young age. When the 3 generations of Hokage saw Xuanyi, the whole old face smiled like a chrysanthemum. Okay, this kind of child is the inheritor of the will of fire. Look, you will learn theories by analogy. If all the people in the village had the enlightenment of this child, it would be too easy for him. There were green leeks all over the land for him to harvest. However, the 3rd generation of Hokage remembers that this child's actual combat ability is very poor. To Mitara Atsuki Bean, a child who likes to imitate Ashimaru everywhere, Xuanyi will suffer. The 3rd generation of Hokage chuckled his pipe. But the next moment, the strongest Hokage lord, he gave a faint utterance and was surprised to see that after swallowing Xuanyi's blood, the red bean actually vomited out again. It's really interesting, but what's going on? Sandai Hokage squinted and thought. Ninja school. Despicable, you actually poisoned your own blood. Red beans took a bite of high-concentration nuclear radiation, which tasted sour and refreshing. She deliberately studied Ashimaru, and even felt that she should be more advanced than Lord Ashimaru in certain manners, in order to attract the attention of Lord Ashimaru, and was uniquely favored by Lord Ashimaru. Then, after deliberately cutting Xuanyi with a knife, he swallowed a mouthful of blood. As a result, the terrifying amount of nuclear radiation in the blood immediately caused a terrible burning sensation to her mouth, which was extremely hot. What made Hongdu more frightened was that she clearly discovered, this mouthful of blood actually contained some terrifyingly corrosive, but inaccurate, weird toxin. The entire mouth was horribly killed, and a large number of cells died instantly. The Red Bean people are stupid, she has countless counts, conceived many kinds of showy plans, but never thought that she would swallow a bite of blood. You. She shivered and pointed at Xuan Yi, her eyes widened, as if looking at a monster. She had never seen such a crazy person. Neuropathy, I have heard of poisoning people on their clothes and skin, but who can poison their blood? Is this calculated? I will drink your blood? The key is that this poison is so poisonous. Red Bean's mentality burst a bit. Now she, just a few days after being accepted as a disciple by Oshimaru, is in a period of desperate need to find someone to show off. As a result, the car overturned on the little Xuan Yi. This, poisoned in the blood? So cruel. Even the referee was dumbfounded, and stayed on the spot. For a moment, I wondered if the game should be suspended. The entire arena was silent. Everyone swept their eyes. Even the evaluators who represented the high-level villagers in the distance were shocked at this time. Do you want to be so amazing? Or is the Red Bean got it wrong? But they saw that Red Bean's face was white with endless horror. Suddenly there was silence, with a weird color on his face. Is it true? Red Bean, you don't need to be so anxious. In fact, as long as you say it, I will surrender immediately. This is all trivial. Xuan Yi sighed, feeling the broken silver fiber bandage on his face, and in desperation, he pulled off all the bandages on his face. He now has the ability to block the leakage of nuclear radiation, and he doesn't need this thing anymore. Then, when the bandages on his head were torn off, the handsome face was revealed. Suddenly, a sound of cold breathing directly raised the temperature in the school by a few degrees. Many people, after many years, it is almost the first time to see Xuan Yi's complete face in front of him. This handsome face has a helpless and handsome face, which made many sister-in-law Yang's hearts throb. Kuosuo, it turns out that Xuan Yisang is so handsome. I knew I would start it in advance. Then why do you want to bandage your whole body deliberately? Probably to conceal this compelling handsomeness. The chirping voice sounded, and immediately after Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com, there were bursts of shouts. The value of the face is justice. Oh, they are a group of superficial guys, and they know how to greet him. Xuan Yi walked directly to the Red Bean. Damn, what do you want? I haven't lost yet, don't underestimate me. Hongdu gritted his teeth and threw out Q now. At the same time, he suddenly leaned over, resisting the horrible dissolution in his mouth, rushed forward, and shot very decisively. At this age, she is excellent. It is not without reason that she can be favored by Dashimaru. Just. Xuan Yi took a step back lightly, and suddenly grabbed it with one hand. In an extremely violent posture, after holding the leg whip by his body hard, he pinched the neck of the Red Bean and pressed it to the ground with a bang. Boom! There was a loud noise. There were slight cracks on the floor. Be quiet, the game is not important anymore, the important thing is you, if you delay it, you will die. Xuan Yi's voice was flat, just like that, he pinched Red Bean's neck with one hand and pressed the opponent tightly. In the bizarre gaze of Red Bean, the index finger and of the other hand came together to form a mark. In less than 20 seconds, you should still be saved, Hongdu, you owe me a life, don't be so reckless in the future. Hyun Yi said in a low voice, and then. Nuclear escape, the art of adsorbing turbidity. Ikki, who was watching the battle below, suddenly lit up in his eyes, filled with fiery heat. That's right, this is the ability. Hyun Yi sang, you actually. I am in a hurry to follow the power, and if I don't take action again, Red Bean BA achieves a fart. The disciple who had just received Ashimaru was killed before he could go to the battlefield. That was the shame of the entire Konoha village. Once the Red Bean had an accident, nothing else, Ashimaru would not let him go. You are really going to trouble me? Xian Yi shook his head. He remembered that during the test of Shinobu in the original book, Hongdu cut the prince with a knife and stretched out his tongue to lick the blood on the prince's face. I didn't expect this habit. Did it have a clue at this time? Xian Yi was forced to take action. Nuclear escape, the art of absorbing turbidity. In an instant, a large amount of nuclear radiation in the Red Bean body was swallowed by Xian Yi in a whistling manner invisible to the naked eye. This technique is the ninjutsu that Xuan Yi has mastered to control nuclear radiation in the process of integrating nuclear radiation for many years. Wait for the last trace of radiation, after being swallowed by Xian Yi. Red beans, although vitality is severely injured, especially the massive necrosis of oral cells, it takes a long time to cultivate, but at least it can remain normal in general. Except for the pale face and the sweating all over. What have you done? Hongdu turned his head hard, feeling the rapid improvement in his body. His face was stunned. She was saved. This is my technique, don't care. Xian Yi got up, but still dragged the red beans with one hand, step by step towards the edge of the field. How could you not care? This whole process is too weird, okay? Atsuki Bean frantically complained in her heart, and at the same time she was extremely depressed. As a disciple of Master Ashimaru, she was actually put down by a bit of blood. I'm such a fool, really, I even lost the hidden shadow snake hand taught to me by my teacher. Hongdo tears her eyes and her confidence is hurt. Atsuki Beans, you have to think about the benefits. For example, you can't successfully use the shulker snake hand technique. Xian Yi kindly reminded. Hongdu was furious. Xian Yi, you bastard. The next moment, she was kicked out of the arena by Xian Yi and landed with a bang. The action is decisive, like a scumbag. Lost. The disciple of Sunan, lost to the last student. But now, it doesn't matter anymore. Controlled nuclear radiation, developed nuclear escape, and initially established a stable connection with the big guy in his body, Xian Yi no longer had to hide as before, and be cautious. Numerous shocking sounds sounded, and everyone stared at Xian Yi in unison, with an unbelievable expression on their faces. Impossible, Xuan Yi actually defeated Sunan's disciple. A loud cry overwhelmed everyone. The guy with the goggles on his head is full of unwillingness. The last one in the school, Uchiha brought soil. He is clearly at the same level with me. Why can't I win the red beans? How can this be? Dai Tu was completely stunned, gritted his teeth. The huge contrast made him unacceptable. Why is? He didn't understand this whole process at all. The old crane tail, unexpectedly changed, turned gorgeously. After the low tide, he is the only clown left with soil? Brought soil and clenched his fists fiercely, trembling all over because of his excitement. As expected of Xian Yi sang, this is the power of youth. In the distance, Kai, who is seeing Ren to maintain order in the arena, looked excited. Not only did I not understand it with the soil, but other people did not understand it either. No antidote was given, no medical ninjutsu was used, but the poison was detoxified. This kind of poison, what's going on? And it actually exists in his blood. Is it really that Xian Yi calculated in advance and deliberately made hands and feet on his face? Those official ninjas who watched the battle thoughtfully. At this time, Zhai Wei pushed his sunglasses, and a bright light was reflected on the black lenses. Not only that, besides the poison itself, this kid's physical skills are also amazing. Can hardly hold a leg whip of the red bean without moving. This kind of physical strength far exceeds the average level of his peers. Moreover, the angle and speed of the shot were also unusual in one blow to the angry red bean. Weird blood poison, wrapped in bandages all the year round, lazy and reluctant to move, but has a powerful body, synthesizing this information, so that's it. It's some kind of secret technique, or blood succession limit. The oily nymph speaks slightly. Many people looked dazed and nodded again and again. That makes sense. The secret technique related to poisonous blood can barely be tainted with the poison of the Sancho fish that Yunnan village Hanzhou has mastered, but there is an essential difference between the two, which is more like some unknown blood inheritance boundary. An Anbi said. Zhihui nodded slightly, his face under his hood and sunglasses could not see any mood swings. He said, I originally planned to observe the red beans, but I didn't expect to have unexpected joy. I would personally report to Master Naruto. After finishing speaking, Zhihui left the field directly, and there was no need to watch the game afterwards. He has obtained valuable information. This year's student, Yu reading www.yu. In addition to the genius Kakashi, Com also has a lot of reliable guys who are able to take on some responsibilities. Especially Shiranui Swanyi, it was the biggest surprise. Hokage building. Needless to say, I have seen it. I do not know Huo Swanyi, the unknown blood inheritance boundary, really interesting child. The 3 generations of Hokage stopped Zhihui's words, smoking a pipe, and constantly flipping through the documents in his hand. This is all the information about Xuanyi, from birth to now, as well as information on Xuanyi's parents and grandparents. However, after a long time, the 3rd generation of Hokage could not find any clues. It's strange that the Shiranui family seems to have never awakened a similar blood succession boundary. 3 generations of Hokage touched his chin, very interested. I don't know now, where is the upper limit of this blood succession limit? If it was like Moonlight Hayate's awakening child's blood through the bounds, it would be over. Transcendence has the ability to invisible and ablate its own pheromone. It is known as the most powerful invisibility technique, but it turns out that the blood is invisible when it is immobile, and it becomes visible when it moves. It's almost impossible. Moonlight Gale's body was also worn down by this blood continuum, sickened, and almost ruined the possibility of further development. At this time, a gloomy voice came. I am going to the battlefield soon, and I need a few powerful new generations in my hands. A gloomy guy walked into the house. Here is a legendary man. Although he will be late, he will never be absent. After all, asked for the existence of thousands of protagonists who didn't know, and was rejected thousands of times by the 3 generations. Shimura Danzo. Came so fast. You just brought Unvji into your roots not long ago. Isn't that enough? 3 generations of Hokage looked at his old partner with a little dissatisfaction. The hand of the root stretched out longer and longer, slightly crossing the boundary. Not enough, the roots buried deep in the ground need to absorb more nutrients to grow Konoha. The bigger the roots, the better. You know how big the roots are. Danzang hit the ground hard, then glanced at Zhihui. The oily nymphs buried their heads slightly, as if they were indifferent to everything in front of them. Zhihui, I have worked hard for you this time. You should rest for a few days. I have a new task assigned to you. 3 generations of Hokage took a pipe, and after Zhihui disappeared, he was silent for a moment. Which one do you want? Uchiha Kazue, Hyagaloiha, I don't know Huo Swanyi, I want these 3 people. Danzo said, I wanted to recruit Kakashi to the roots. He lost his father and was emotionally unstable. I was rejected by you. I can assign Metkai to you, if you want, Metday can also give it to you. Hisaka, I don't need a fool. And there are still 2. They don't have the qualities and talents to be a good ninja. I think Moonlight and Wind is also good, his blood succession limit has great potential. The little things from the Moonlight family? Invisible when they are not moving, and visible when they move, what is the use of such a blood succession boundary? Sending a few shadow clones is better than this blood succession boundary. Danzo was a little angry, but also very disappointed. Are you fooling me like that? You have changed and you don't care about me anymore. Even if I recommend K, even Hey 8? Iki definitely can't, the Uchiha clan won't allow it. As for Lu Yubo and Xian Yi, you can pick one. Then give Lu Yubo to me. Tuanzang's face was gloomy. Is the Haiga family? Although it is a separation of families, but recruiting Lu Yubo into the roots, there is also a lot of resistance. I think Xuanyi is a good boy. He has a perfect political course and has awakened a new boundary. Hinata Lu Yubo, Konoha does not lack genius, Zhaihei is even better. Danzo got what he wanted and turned to leave. Hyunyi? New blood? Okay, at least it's much more practical than that shit. However, there is no shortage of such ability. The UNV's Haihe he recruited miraculously controlled the nano-level poisonous insects. As long as he touched it, he could use countless nano-poisonous insects to kill the enemy, which is more useful than blood poison. Hey, it's a pity that I still didn't get the living Shale and I blood succession. Danzo is far away. In the office, there are only 3 generations of Hokage left, smoking a pipe one after another, and sighing deeply. The new generation should grow up as soon as possible. In the arena, the shock brought by Xian Yi shocked many people, so much so that many people were looking at him with strange eyes. Is indeed unfamiliar, with bandages wrapped all year round, and suddenly torn, giving people an unspeakable feeling. I want to challenge Hyun Yi. Suddenly rushed out with the soil, shouting, Xian Yi, come and fight me. The loyal Kai suddenly appeared, blocking the soil for the first time, and said lightly, this is not a challenge. Please return to your position. The game is not over yet. Get out of the way, I want to challenge Xian Yi. Subconsciously grabbed the soil, but in an instant, he was thrown away by Kai. Then I will challenge you, take the move, fire escape how to fire ball. Bring the soil quickly to seal, bulging his cheeks. Then was stuck in his throat, he himself was kicked out by Kai on the spot. A farce. Damn it, why is it like this? I obviously worked very hard. I took a mouthful of dirt and collapsed. This gave him even greater ridicule. No one cared about bringing dirt, even Xian Yi just shook his head and returned to the team without responding. It's really sad. If you want to make the soil stronger, you must either open it or blacken it. Although, using the art of fireball at the age of 10 is absolutely excellent, but he hasn't really used it after all. The guy who loses the chain at a critical moment is more abominable than the mediocrity with limited talents, Xian Yi sang, what do you think? Kazue pulled her long hair lightly and said with a smile. Hey, is it really okay to say that your family is like that? Hehe, the treatment of genius and mediocrity is destined to be different. It took me all my life to become the most valued genius in the clan. Kazue looked at Xian Yi's profile intently, which caused another wave of attention. Finally, after the battle between Shiranui Genma vs Ebisu ended, this large-scale practical class for the whole year came to an end. In this actual combat class, the quality demonstrated by the students in this class is enough to make the village leaders make up their minds. Some ninjas who are responsible for maintaining the arena outside the school have also relaxed their vigilance. Hey, I saw a lot of interesting pictures. The overall quality of this session is very good. In my impression, although it is not as good as that of Bo Feng Shui Men, Uzumaki Kushina, and Yunushi Wei, it is also excellent in all previous sessions. They will become excellent ninjas in the future. Some ninjas were talking. In fact, their mission is to maintain and guard the entire school. The school itself is an important place and is often guarded by members of the Anbu. These comprehensive qualities are limited, and most of them are ninja guys, so there is no need to worry too much about foreign enemies sneaking in. Mate Day followed the others, no one wanted to walk with him, which was embarrassing. Others have relaxed their vigilance, only Dai is still looking around. Ha, Dai, what are you doing? Will the enemy launch an attack when the game ends? Someone pointed at Dai haha and laughed. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com. More people laughed. Oh. I just think that carrying out the task to the last second is the right attitude to sway your youth. Ha 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 ha, did you hear that? After 10,000 years of forbearance, I opened my mouth and talked about youth in silence, which just laughed at me. Okay. Why, not convinced? Do you want to hit us? No. Someone is coming. 2. Mate Day quickly turned his head, his strong physical instincts made his muscles tense subconsciously, and suddenly turned his head and looked in one direction. Rumbling. 2 Roshans rushed over. I'm so hungry, brother. Yes, the reward for doing the task is not enough for us to eat, brother. We have worked very hard, but during the war we couldn't even eat enough. The village abused us. We had to find food for ourselves. I was about to starve to death. Well, there is a ninja school ahead. With so many students, there must be a lot of food. Then go eat, if you get in the way. Then kill it. 2 huge burly men rushed over in such a big stride, not fast, but every step they slammed the ground to pieces, and the chakras that burst out were incomparably astonishing. The ninja who was in charge of guarding the ninja school changed his face the first time he saw the 2 of them. Here, these 2 guys are, the legendary brothers. No, they are so hungry and crazy again, go report it to the superior. They were talking and laughing at the last moment, and his face is as earthy at this moment. Mate Day also had a tight face and a heavy heart, it was actually the 2 of them, brothers with white eyes. Feng Shen and Thor.